Well, that's one way to do a go-home show. I'm Joe Renton with the retro review of WCW Thunder from November 22nd, 2000. The go-home show for Mayhem 2000. And this was just matches for the sake of having matches. That's really all it was. There was no goddamn reason to have any of these except to preview a couple matches on the Mayhem card. But every match had some form of shenanigans, messy finishes. And Russo was out of power by this point. He was just being paid to stay at home. Not that you'd be able to tell because there wasn't a lot of cohesion here. I mean, to be fair, Thunder really wasn't much of a wrestling show anyway. Outside of, I'd say, the first maybe year and a half, after that, everything just went to absolute shit because nobody cared. Because Thunder was one of the most, if not the most unnecessary wrestling show of the past 25 years. So, presented in the most complete form due to original production technical difficulties, I guess something to do with the master tape. And you really got those during one of the tag matches. Sanders, O'Hare, and Jindrak. So if you wanted more Natural Born Thrillers, this was a show for you. You know, all three of the Natural Born Thriller fans. If you guys were, by the way, I'm not going to fault you. I don't mind pushing young talent, but having more Mike Sanders on a television program is not a way to boost ratings. He wasn't the worst thing in the world. He just was very vanilla and very bland. And, you know, Sanders is icing his neck after Goldberg took him out on Monday. Fun fact. This was in the midst of them taping Nitro and Thunder on the same night to save costs, and also for the fact they couldn't draw an audience for Thunder anyway. They could barely draw an audience for Nitro unless they went overseas, which actually had some pretty lively crowds. He says, well, he'll take care of Kiwi at Mayhem. And then we have Ming versus Jindrak and O'Hare. It's supposed to be a tag match, but Kiwi was injured. He kept calling him Kiwi. Whatever. I mean, I think having a Kiwi actually out there trying to cut a promo would have been better than Mike Sanders. The Thrillers run out after like 2 minutes. It's 5-on-1. Then here's Nash and DDP. Sanders says, you have pissed me off to the highest level of pissivity. An actual line that he said. Not the worst line that we would get, at least the most botched line. And DDP and Stasiak are going to have a Lumberjack match later. A Lumberjack match that, in theory, really didn't last all that long. Helms and Moore not having to carry Evan Courageous. And then here's Jimmy Yang and Leia Meow. It's Yang, Moore, and Courageous. It is a preview of the three-way dance tag match that they're going to have at Mayhem, which it was a car crash, and there was a lot of interference. The Deadeye variation, Yang pins Moore for 3, and there really wasn't much to this, which is a shame because these two talents and Evan Courageous actually could put on a decent match here and there. When Courageous actually wanted to try and was in there with people that, could show him what the fuck to do, he could have a pretty decent match. Then the Filthy Animals are talking about facing the Boogie Nights. And then Alex Wright with a promo more like Alex Mike. I thought about that joke, and I probably should have just left it in the drafts, as the kids say. Here's Chronic. Well, just one of them. Because Alex Wright only had enough money to give it to Clark. And then Adams was still out there, though. So Tigress joining commentary, which is further proof that Thunder was an unnecessary wrestling program because Tigress should have never been allowed to talk at all. She was fucking annoying, fucking irritating, but anyway, it is what it is. Adams then attacks Conan, despite not wanting to be in the match because Alex Wright didn't have enough money, so it made no fucking sense. Meltdown pins Kidman. Scott Steiner then tosses Sanders' phone, just throws it. And I think it might have actually been plugged into the wall, which would have been hilarious. He says, find me some fresh meat. Easy for me to say and easy for Scott Steiner to say because, boy, he was fired up during his promo later. And then Booker's here to talk about his runs as world champion, his past actions, giving the bookend to Major Guns. It was good. He didn't like it. Oh, well. Then he challenges Goldberg. Says, Goldberg, I got a challenge for you because of the whole thing where Goldberg had speared Luger instead of Booker on Monday again. I mean, this Augusta, Georgia crowd clearly was exhausted by this point. They cheered for a few people. I mean, yeah, they got 2 tapings in one, but sitting there for 3 goddamn hours while this stuff's taped, or in the case, I believe about 4 hours, it was fucking ridiculous. He then says, well, wait, I want you to remember these 6 words. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Booker? I don't think math was ever your strong suit, but fucking hell, you had to think about that because WCW did not script a lot of people. They were allowed to really go out there and do more stuff. I mean, sure, there was some verbiage they were told to say, and later when, AOL Time Warner got more of a hold, they wanted certain content, but a lot of the times, a lot of the wrestlers could go out and speak from the heart. Maybe somebody should have scripted Booker here, or at least taught him how numbers, a number of words actually works. So then Goldberg's here, and he puts over Booker as champion. Says, well, whoever's champion after Sunday, they're next. If it's you, great. If it's Scott Steiner, great. And here's Miller and Buff, which really sounds like some kind of protein beer, talking about Douglas and Jarrett. Well, we don't know it's Jeff Jarrett, but pretty much implied that it's going to be a tag match against them. Then the heels talk later. Douglas and Jarrett versus Miller and Bagwell. Technical issues here. There's lines all down the goddamn screen because of the master tape issue. Quick start. Wasn't very good. We get the referees stopping Mrs. Jones and Tori from brawling. Tori for what she was worth, which wasn't really much of anything. Guitar attempt, but no. Buff stops it with the blockbuster and then gets hit with loaded punch where Shane took something out of his tights that probably didn't smell that good and launched it right into Buff's face. And then, Jarrett pinned him. And Miller couldn't make the save. Yeah, it's just what you want. Something that was near, Shane Douglas's junk hitting you in the face. If you want that, cool. I don't understand. So Scott Steiner then talks about Booker and gets in Stevie Ray's face. And then we have Vito jumping in for a quick start in a match that actually wasn't all that bad. Scott Steiner tosses him around, keeps jaw-jacking with Stevie Ray. Eventually, Vito does get a few close near falls, but suplex off the top and then the recliner for the win. And I think Steiner faces Stevie Ray after Mayhem, wanting to get back at him for all the stuff that Booker T and him did. Bam Bam Bigelow and Reno versus Crowbar and Mike Awesome. The only thing of note here, besides Mike Awesome nearly dying on a dive outside because he was diving and he went too far down, they threw a trash can. I believe Bam Bam threw a trash can at him. It was not good. Sloppy as hell. It was really, really bad. This was really bad. Like, I remember talking about, I think it was Bam Bam and Crowbar that actually had a pretty good hardcore match. This was not very good. This really wasn't. Bam Bam at one point picks up like some kind of metal wash pan, tries to toss it to Crowbar. It ricochets off his shoulder, hits like 5-10 fans on the crowd. They're just there, including a few kids. So by God, I mean, one kid was holding his head. He wasn't crying about it. He seemed to be having fun. But yeah, that was really, really careful by, Bam Bam. And yeah, that was ridiculous. Bam Bam hurls Awesome through an announcer's table right after Awesome takes Crowbar and tosses him through a table onto Reno. Why not? Sure. Why the fuck not? And then Reno covers Crowbar to win. Sanders joins commentary because we needed more Mike Sanders on this show, presumably. DDP versus Sean Stasiak. Lumberjack match. Took longer for the Lumberjacks to all come out. Within 30 seconds, they're all brawling, and they're all back. They're all going back on the stage to the back after like a minute. Seriously. They're all brawling. They didn't have much time anyway. I think it had like 5.5 minutes for the main event. Interference. Nash pulls the referee out. The referee blatantly sees interference, doesn't call it. We get a chair shot from Chuck Palumbo. Stasiak tops DDP 1, 2, 3. And then jackknife to the ref. There. That's all I gotta fucking say about that. Just goddamn it. Just this show. So fucking bad. Agree, disagree, what I said. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Redland. I'll see you soon.